and I like the different sizes and stuff I can do on that. So I just have to order them.
Yep.
I just haven't done it yet.
You gonna do like are you gonna make it the wall black, like
I
your
don't
last
know.
house?
I don't know. What do y'all think?
It looks pretty cool, I think.
I think
I know.
I
I
mean, it
like the
looked
black.
cool at your last house. I think as a background, I mean, at Tory's, it looks pretty cool too. Is that black,
Yeah.
Tory, or is it just dark?
It's dark blue. It's just a dark blue. That's
Nice.
just what we had, but it's a nice contrast.
Yeah.
I think it would work.
Yeah, mine was it was just chalk paint. I never actually used it for the chalk, but with chalk on it. But
Oh, it was a chalkboard wall. That's cool.
it was, but I never actually used it. Because then I was like, I don't know what to put on it, and I just didn't take the time to draw on it. And then I made the whole art wall thing, and so
It looked awesome, though. I loved it.
yeah, I might do the black again. Just means I have to take time to paint.
So what designy
Alright.
stuff are we talking about today? Anybody know?
Well, I was thinking, are we recording? I was thinking maybe we should kick it off with a short retrospective about last episode. What do you think about that, Tory?
I love my
like, What went well?
retros.
What didn't go well? What ideas do we have to improve?
Oh,
I'll say I think we didn't plan out the beginning as well, or something, or maybe it just didn't work.
Or the
right.
end.
Or the end.
Yeah.
The end just kind of ended.
Yeah,
Are
so
you gonna
that's
write it
a
down,
good.
Tory?
What could we do better? I think.
Yeah, we didn't plan very well. I know I felt pretty unprepared, and it was we talked about it last week, but we were like talking about doing this show forever and it wasn't happening. So we were finally like, all right, let's just record. But because of that, I think we didn't do a lot of prep, but it was just nice to see how the show went.
Don't worry. Today
it was a good experiment.
So much more prep.
About 30 seconds more prep today.
Ooh.
Yeah, probably.
Okay, yeah, so there's I don't the stickies, I'm not going to use stickies. I'm going to use Okay.
I was sort of surprised you went with the You didn't go with like a wireframe. I love Whimsy, by the way.
I like the flow charting for stuff like this. Okay, what do we got? Any good stuff? I mean, I was just really happy that it happened. You know,
it happened. I thought after the initial like awkward start, it flowed fairly well.
I think
I felt like it was pretty decent. I felt like I was a little complainy about simple. I was listening back and thinking like, oh, I don't want to. I sound so like.
But I don't think it. I would disagree because I thought that added to what we were discussing because it was your issues that brought about that whole conversation.
Yeah,
so I think it was valid.
I just know that if I were the designer, if I were like a designer on a thing and listening to someone talk on a podcast about it, how they didn't like it, I would be like rolling my eyes the whole time. Not because it's not like good information, but you know, like we said last week, like it's easy to complain when you don't have like the same constraints and information designing, you know, the feature, but
it's true.
Valid concerns is something we did well. Thanks, Tory.
Okay, good.
I would say something we did wrong, which no one would actually know that listened to the podcast, but we didn't do the news that we said we were going to do.
Yeah.
Design news.
We'll fix that today, I think.
That might have been a result of the lack of preparation.
Yeah.
Or part of that. I don't know if this is an idea. I guess it's an idea, but I think Dribbble Roulette was great. That could go under the happy, I guess. But the idea is we need to figure out like if there's a way to, using Dribble's API, create like an automatic randomizer for dribble shots.
I've been thinking about it. I started a prototype of that and then didn't get around to it. Because you have to like get your app approved by Dribbble, so you have to like give them like what it's gonna be. So like maybe they would approve random dribble, you know, whatever. Anyway, so automatic dribble selection. Today what I did is I got a random number generator, and that gave me the number of scrolls down the page. I got a random word generator, and that gave me the search term, and then I did another random to pick which one on that. So it was literally random today.
Hey,
nice.
That's awesome.
But yeah, it's not automatic. Okay. I mean, I feel like that covers what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Too. Okay. And if you have any ideas, listeners, let us know, because we are in the true agile fashion going to be changing the roadmap every day and telling our designers one thing and then telling them, nope, different feature you're now on tomorrow.
Selling features, and then after selling the feature, letting product and
that's true.
UX.
I love it.
I will say one thing that we could do after this one as well, which we didn't do, and I thought about it and almost did it, and just I don't know why I forgot. I got busy with family and stuff, but didn't actually post it on our own social accounts, sort of announcing that we had a podcast. So I think we should definitely do that with the next one.
Yeah. I think, to be fair,
I'm just embarrassed about it. So, I'm not sure yet.
Just throw it out there, Tory.
I'm kidding. Kind of.
We didn't really have many social accounts after that episode launched. Like, since then, we do now, and we also have a website.
He means personal too. Personal ones.
Oh, personal ones. Got it. Yeah. No, I think that's all right though, because it was sort of like a soft launch, so it was okay that we didn't like blast it out there. And it'll be nice for people to visit or like to discover the show after we have 2 or 3 shows, so that they can
there's a
do
backlog.
a little catching up.
That's right.
I know a lot of new podcasts like will pre-record 2 or 3 episodes before they even put it out there at all. So it's cool. But yeah, that's a good point. We'll get better at that.
Yeah.
Nice retro.
That was good.
We'll talk more about it in the stand-up tomorrow morning.
Yep, stand up. See you then. Have a good Sunday.
Something I did want to talk about though, which is sort of news related because of the timing and of the betas being out, as well as I think it's going to launch really soon. But the macOS Big Sur, Apple announced it. I guess it was at WWDC. I see there. It was in June. It has been in beta. I have the beta on one of my computers. So I've had a chance to play around with it. Not on my work computer because I'm not that crazy. And I'm afraid I would get in trouble if I did that. But I should be releasing like to everyone very soon. I imagine I wouldn't be surprised if it happens next week, because there's an Apple event next week, which I think is an iPhone event. But I shouldn't be talking about time-based things anyway, because this is gonna release later. But anyway, so I thought we could talk maybe a little bit about the one of the major features or problems, some people might say, with the Big Sur release. And that is that they released a major UI redesign with this, like some major changes, probably some of the biggest changes that they have made in many, many, many years with Big Sur. And particularly, and maybe this is an area where we can kind of get things kicked off, is the icon design. This has been one of the most hotly contested, controversial aspects of the design because of a number of things. One, they went from having sort of free-form, any shape icons to what you can see there in the image. Assuming,
you want me to show the comparison image?
Yeah,
already?
Sure.
Okay. Oh, wrong one. Oh, there it is.
So you can see on the left in Catalina, which is the release before Big Sur, the upcoming release, they had different shapes. Some were circles, some were squares, some were tilted, some had little dongles hanging off the end, and they're all different shapes and forms. They're also by comparing them, there's a distinct style difference. One of the major things being like a lot more shadows and a lot more of a 3D look in the Big Sur icons. So these were met with a lot of very positive and very negative reviews and opinions. And so I thought we could talk a little bit about them and just between the three of us give our opinions on the icons and the design in general. I don't know how much either of you have seen, but were you going to say something, Tory?
I'm always going to say something. Pope, do you want to? You looked like you had something to say, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I'm not confused. I don't know if so some parts I like and some parts I don't. I like the more consistency in the square shape. I think that's fine. It matches what they're doing with their mobile applications. But then there's so many variations in the styles of icon. Like the text icon, it's very bubbly and very skeuomorphism-esque, makes it look like it's coming out of it. But then you have the book icon. I forget what that's actually for.
It's like sinking in. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's an inset.
Apple Books, yeah.
Yeah, it's inset, not very detailed. And then you go down to the preview icon, and for some reason, there's this one, and there's like the Xcode, I think it is, icon, where they've made allowances for objects to be outside of that square bubble thing.
In very specific, yeah, like in just a couple of cases for some
and the preview icon is super detailed, where everything else is very minimalistic, but it's still skeuomorphic. Yeah, uses skeuomorphism. So it's just kind of confusing. So in some ways they're more consistent, but in other ways they're not at all.
Yeah. So it's an interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Tory.
So here's the deal. From a business perspective, what they're doing is they're trying to align because they're going to have this big change from Intel Macs to ARM Macs with the same chips that their iOS stuff is using. And they've already been saying, like, you're going to be able to run iOS apps. So what they're doing is, like, this is like a preview on the business side of, okay, it's going to be one platform. All your stuff is the same. And it's not going to be, but that's what they're really trying to push. Microsoft tried this and it failed horribly. Apple will probably do a better job of making tablet apps work on desktop. But the thing I have a problem with here is it's such an inconsistent treatment of these icons. And I get Apple's a big company, but I feel like for at least their core app set, they should be the same. Like, for instance, I guess what they chose is Mail, which I actually like this. I don't like the extra droppy shadows and the bubble stuff, but these FaceTime, Mail, Messages, they're relatively consistent. But why aren't there a couple? Yeah, why aren't there a couple? Like, what? I wonder what the reasoning is why there aren't a couple more that are part of that set. Because the only other one is kind of App Store. But because the App Store icon was so, already in a weird A, it doesn't match to me. So
I don't like the App Store one. They made it so bubbly that it doesn't. It is such small shapes. I think that's more of what bugs me. It's because it's such a thin shape and thin object that the shadows don't seem right. Something seems different than the other ones.
Well, what's weird about it too, and I think what is interesting about all of these is that they're not really skeuomorphic. Like except maybe the preview one.
with the
I don't know if this is true. New morphism or however you pronounce.
I read that too, new morphism, but that's even slightly different from what I was looking at least.
Yeah. But basically, it's like they are these abstract icons. Like, for example, the App Store icon, where it's like 3 sticks, but in Catalina, because it's a flat design, they're using white space to represent like the shadow, right?
Yeah.
Well, now they're using that same concept where they're using white space to represent the shadow, but they're also using shadows and gradients to make it feel actually 3D in the 3D world space. So it's just like a really weird mixture, which again, there's a lot that I like here. I agree that like the mail, the FaceTime, and the messages are some of my favorites, but there is that inconsistency. I will point out too, before we get too far, I think I'm on the latest developer beta. I'm looking at my MacBook Pro here that has Big Sur on it. Comparing the App Store icon, it looks like they've significantly like decreased the darkness of the shadows and stuff. And maybe also this image we're looking at has been like adjusted a little bit. I don't know, but it looks a lot nicer. It doesn't look as like contrasty and heavy as we're seeing here. So all that I say that to say, like, we're talking about a screenshot that was from like the initial announcement or release.
Yeah,
these things have probably been improved over time, but still they are mostly the same, except for the battery icon, which we'll talk about in a second. That's what I sent you, Tory.
Yeah, I do find it interesting. So the other, I mean, if you had the whole icon set, I bet you'd see some more overarching patterns, because the things I see is they took the music, books, not TV because it's kind of its own brand, so I guess they didn't really want to touch that too much, but like books, and I'm assuming like podcasts and stuff looks a little bit more where they chose, okay, on these, because they are more like a service instead of an app, we're gonna make them be different. So I don't completely disagree with like that there's some difference. I'm not saying they should all be the same, but I do feel like it's like, well, this is an inner shadow here. Why are these two, where did the inner shadow come from? Nowhere, like, do they use it for that, which is insetting something on the page. Like, inner shadows are meant to be in all the other places for a skeuomorphic reason. Like, they're showing a depth. I don't know. It just feels a little strange. But
and that's another issue I have too with, so if these were supposed to be different because they're a subscription or a service, like you were saying, I get that you make them different. That's a good way to differentiate them. But they're so close that you can't actually tell the difference unless you're a designer like us. No one else is going to tell except for people like us, for the most part. Obviously, we're being very picky because this is a design podcast. But that's my issue with it from a differentiation standpoint. They're not different enough if that was their goal, which we don't know that, but we're just making assumptions.
Is this a difference without a distinction potentially or something like that? Yeah.
I think it just bugs me because I've made hundreds of icons, especially for like Frontline. And whether you like the style or not, we're super consistent with it. So you can tell, like, there's a reasoning why we do these so that they look the same. You can tell, like, these are part of our icon set.
I will be very interested to see how third-party app developers take this style and make it even worse somehow.
Yes,
because I also, so John sent over this tweet a while ago, and I laughed out loud because this just takes me back to my high school when I was first learning with Photoshop, and I did designs for like our student body stuff, like for people running for office in student body, and like this was what I did on everything. I went to the layer palette and the layer styles, and I did this stuff. And so I laughed so hard when he sent this to me. Oh my.
Because it's so true that it resonates so well.
I don't think this looks. There's nothing about this that I'm saying is like it inherently looks bad or whatever, but it's just like takes me back. It's great.
Yep.
There's some other really interesting. Well, that's weird.
Did you see this when this was actually a thing? So they have fixed it since. I believe the latest is the one on the right, which looks significantly better. But they originally shipped the Big Sur betas with the left one, which is like
horrible.
Do you like the nub on the right?
No one liked it when they launched this, and it was very,
to explain to people just listening. We're looking at a battery icon that Big Sur had for the charge, and the left one we're looking at is just
it looks like a baby bottle.
Yeah, it's a very strange choice of design. But with a little baby bottle nipple on the right, and it's a little weird.
It's very weird.
The new one I don't like at all either, but at least it kind of looks like a battery.
I like it. I mean, it fits with the style.
Yeah, but why is what? But no. This is a absolute. None of this is skeuomorph. Like, this is not a actual what a battery looks like, except the terminal, which looks exact. It's they did a chrome gradient. Like, it's just it's very. I guess they're just trying to try stuff and see what sticks for new trends that everybody can hop onto, because that's what's happened with flat and other designs. So maybe it'll happen. Maybe we'll see chrome everywhere.
The batteries. I really hope we don't go back to shiny.
That they go with.
I think this is it. We are back to shiny. This is very shiny, in my opinion.
Man,
I don't hate it. I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, I like the flat-ish aspect of the surrounding interface, but this doesn't match. It stands out so much. It looks like something you go on to iStock or wherever you go for stock graphics, and you just took this off from 10 years ago. To me, that's what it looks like. Sorry if
you're just behind the times.
An Apple designer that made this.
Behind the
times. I mean, I see what you're saying, and it definitely doesn't match as well to the UI that is flatter, but I think like what they're doing is like the UI is flat, but the iconography is a different style. And so I think as long as they're consistent with it, it works. Whether you like the style or not. But go ahead, John.
Another thing to note, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the other thing to note is I just noticed the battery icon lower down. They were, from the original one, it looks like they were just trying to use that same shape and put the gradients on it. Basically,
but it's like
bevel and emboss, and that's all they did.
It's not even like a smooth cylinder though on that one. It's like this weird bump in the middle.
No, this reminds me of early N64 level shaders. The way this green falls off was very bad. There's some other really interesting stuff that they've done. I like this is the old title bar, you know, on Mac, where you have the color dots, and they have all the stuff, and that's been pretty standard for a while. So I actually think it's pretty bold of them to take this and go like, it's not exactly different than what we've seen in some apps before, but like they're going across their platform with a pretty substantial change, and I happen to like it. I think it cleans things up, but it does kind of, headers aren't as important, which I actually think is kind of part of their push towards iPad meshing. I think that this is another push there. It's like, hey, look, title bars aren't as huge of a deal anymore, like they've been since before Windows, whatever the first windowing system was. So it's actually they've finally pushed all the way through that. So
you say that they're not as important, but they're actually much like taller than they ever were before. So it's interesting in that way.
I just mean they dropped the container. So on the UX side of things, the container is gone. So instead of implying relationships by having a container, this is your menu, this is your top title bar, they're implying relationships by it has to be just proximity and knowledge, because for instance, like this is now what used to be in the title bar, but now it's just up there floating, which actually works in a lot of scenarios, but it puts a little bit more emphasis on designers and developers making a choice that actually works for the app and not just throwing stuff in the title bar, which I think it's good, but it is more difficult to design for.
Yeah,
I agree.
The title bar is follow their pattern. And you could even argue that what you're looking at there is the title bar. It just doesn't span the entire width now, like the sidebar.
So
you know what I'm saying?
Also, just as a caveat, this is from AndrewDenty.com. So thanks to Andrew Denty for these screenshots. He has a cool article about this. I don't know who he is, but John had this article. He had a lot of really good comparisons. So just as a call out, that's
we'll put that in the show notes.
This is about. Yeah, I mean, because like I guess John, you were saying that some people are complaining about how tall these because this is actually a container, so they still have a way to make a container for the title bar, but it's like an extra 15 to 20 pixels.
Yeah, visually I like it, but I would say it'll be interesting to see how it works day to day and how much space you actually notice that it takes up.
Yeah.
It hasn't been a problem for me using it, but I could see some people feeling like it wastes a lot of space. One thing that I've heard discussed, not like seriously, but something that I've heard people speculate about is that these thicker title bars and generally like more wide open space in the UI might signal that in the somewhat near future, like touchscreen Macs are coming, or that merging of the two operating systems, at least on more of the front end and how they communicate about it, where maybe like, I mean, we know that iPad or iPhone apps are coming, but also maybe there's just more blurred lines between the devices and the operating systems, and these thicker, more wide open spaces make it easier for you to operate the computer with your fingers.
Yeah, that's a good call out. I mean, it could definitely be something along those lines. So there don't seem to be plans to go the other way, because running macOS apps on iPad seems weird, but maybe they'll have some sort of like overlap apps where they're meant to run on both nicely. I don't know.
Yeah.
So this is so straight. This is like so much more space that file menus take up, which is actually really interesting. It doesn't matter in situations like this, but in something like Photoshop or Figma or whatever, where you have like a ton of options in your dropdown, you're gonna get to scroll a lot faster. I don't really care that much, but it's a pretty substantial change to make this much extra white space, and I like it. I think it is easier to read. I think the dividers maybe in some cases are too not quite visible enough. I don't know, but I like the visual style of it. I haven't used it yet, so
I think I like that it will be easier to find things. You don't have to scroll if you've used Photoshop and Illustrator, as long as they're not changing the general layout and structure of their items. It's not gonna. I don't.
And you use keyboard shortcuts a lot anyway, so
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway,
what was your real world?
That's
UX
what I'm
thing?
starting at. So my real world UX thing. So you know how in cities they have these big loud street cleaning machines, and they have big signs or little tiny signs beside the road that says "Don't park here during a certain time." Well, we just got a house in a town area, and we have one right out. Like we have street parking. That we can park on if we want to, and ours is Friday morning. So I was testing to see how long I could park there on Friday mornings and not get a ticket. Actually, it was just me forgetting multiple weeks in a row, but it took like 2 weeks, and they finally gave me a ticket. So it's like typical ticket on your windshield. However, it's super cool because this particular ticket is an envelope that you just slot your $25 payment. Like, it tells you the payment, when it happened, what you did wrong, why you're a horrible citizen in this town, and then it tells you on the back like where to put it. It says do not place in mailbox by itself, you should put it in an envelope, and that kind of thing. So like just some like little service design stuff. So really interesting to me. The hilarious thing to me though is this is amazing service design 20 years ago.
Yes.
And that's where where this is from. This is something that they decided, hey, this would be sweet. This would be such a good user experience for people before that word was a thing. And then they kept it. Like, this is only minorly delightful for me. It could have been really delightful also if there was a better way to remind me not to park on the street on Fridays. That would probably also be better. Like blink the light or something, I don't know.
What I think is interesting about that too is it does maybe end up being a better experience for the end user, but it's also an improvement probably from a financial perspective for the organization, for the city, because when it was harder to pay, or less obvious how to pay and where to go to pay, they probably had to spend a lot more time in court, and or whatever it takes to like follow up with people who have not paid.
Sending more mail,
sending more mail, which is more manpower, which just costs more money in general and takes more time. So while it may be a better experience for the end user, I think there's a real business impact too, which is probably the real reason they did it than actually trying to delight the people of your fine little city. But I agree that like, why not just let me pay online? I would still be frustrated that I couldn't pay online.
Yeah, well, I may be able to, but they don't have it on the envelope, which is really where it should be. It should say, go to this web address, or actually the sweet thing would be a custom QR code where I literally scan it. It goes right to this website that has the details of the ticket, and I pay. I don't even have to enter information because they already, they have my license plate and everything. So like I that would be the awesome experience here, I would say. Not that I, like getting tickets. I've gotten several street cleaning tickets in my life, and it's always a little like,
yeah.
$25.
Something you mentioned brings up another thing we could talk about maybe at some point or now or whenever. But QR codes, I remember when they first came out, everyone had them, and it wasn't a good experience because most of the time you had to download a specific app QR code reader.
But Android, if you had Android.
Well, maybe not. I didn't know. I had Android at the time, and I had to download an app because I didn't know. So,
well, do you know what you can do now with QR codes?
Yeah, with your camera.
Yeah, but like, when did that happen?
Yeah, they didn't tell anyone.
That's true. When? I don't know. I figured it out one time. Britt knew. She was like, "Hey, you can just scan that QR code with your camera." Like, what are you talking about? And it just shows up at the top, and you have to tap it. But it's not particularly intuitive. I was at a restaurant the other day. You know how everybody doesn't hand out their menus and they make you scan the QR code?
That up,
Well, I immediately was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool," because I at that point knew. This old couple sits down next to us, and the girl, they were obviously like older. Thankfully, they ended up having iPhones, but they're older. And she's like, "Here's the menu," and they I saw them like looking at it, and then they looked over at us, and then he pulled out his phone, but like he doesn't know anything about what like a QR code, so she had to show him. Okay, now hold it, and then oh no, you have to tap that thing that pops up. It's like not particularly a good user experience, at least on the findability side.
Yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted your comment.
No, that's almost exactly what I was going to talk about. I was going to mention the fact that restaurants now have been, you get to use those more because I've used them like 4 or 5 times in the last week or two, just because they're not handing out menus to people because of the coronavirus and everything. It's an interesting use case.
QR codes, bane or blessing? I think that's.
I just remember when I was working at an agency, every company wanted a QR code on their business card, and so we had to fight to talk about like, no, you don't need a QR code on your business card. Like,
nobody in America knows what they are at the time.
Yeah,
they were big in Asia, evidently. Various other places, maybe even Europe.
Yeah. So maybe someday they'll come out with an even better way to use them. But at least in the case of using them for a restaurant, I think that if you know how to use it, it works.
I like it as an alternative. I mean, okay. The menu was a link. The QR code was a link to a page that said, "Tap here to see the menu." That linked to an Amazon S3 bucket with a PDF file, and the PDF was rotated the wrong way and wasn't mobile. So I zoomed all the way in, and I still could barely read the thing, and it was rotated. So I had to hold my phone without rotating. Okay, I forgot how funny that was to me at the time. I was going to bring that up in this, and then thank you for reminding me.
Yeah. I think the best one I had was it linked directly to a PDF that was clearly sized for phone. So the way they did it was very easy
like
to scroll
readable.
through.
You could scroll. Yeah.
Yeah. It would have been better if it was just a site and not a PDF,
Why
probably. But
why
either
can't
way,
it just be a website? It's not that hard. This is the
not.
21st century.
But a lot of these are small business owners who probably don't have that capability.
So Slack.
Yeah, Slack had a new update, UI update at least lately,
but not
recently.
Not everywhere. So here's what's cool.
Oh, really?
This is the old. So just for clarity, oh, I'm not even showing my screen. Okay.
Or maybe you have seen it. I mean, I use Slack every day.
Well, this is the old, and I'm sure many of you listening are familiar. The sidebar of Slack had the channels, and you saw this.
I don't see it.
You're not showing it.
What? Do I? Oh.
There it. Well,
I have to. Apologies. I may cut out this part. I thought I was sharing my whole screen. Oh, got it. Okay, I get it. That's why. Yeah, we're good.
That's the old Slack.
Yeah, this is old Slack. So it's just, the tags down the side, and you have the presence icons, and it's pretty clean, and they're all nicely in line. Well, this is what new looks like if it's updated.
Oh.
Where the hashtag, I'm just to explain it just for people listening, the hashtags now have like a background behind them for the channels, and then every direct message and stuff has the avatar and the presence icon over top of it.
Interesting.
And if it's a group, which you're not showing here, but if you have a group chat, that's not a channel, but it's like a multi-person direct message. It shows two small icons sort of diagonally overlapping each other. And plus, actually, I don't remember if there's a status indicator on top of those as well. But so there's a lot of changes outside of just these avatars from the two versions that you showed me. But focusing on just the avatars, I think or just the sidebar, I should say. I think I like having the avatars. I think it's a nice way to quickly find people. The one issue that I have with it is definitely it definitely cluttered up the sidebar significantly, especially when the status indicators or the presence indicators are not just like offline and online. So for example, I work with a lot of people who are in later time zones, like on the West Coast. And so when I start working relatively early in the morning, everyone's offline. I have a lot of group chats, and I have a lot of the little Z's like they're sleeping, like they have snoozed notifications, which is it just adds to the visual clutter. Because if it were all just circles, I think that would be okay. But it's quite visually noisy. I've noticed, especially with the group chats. Can you start a group chat without actually chatting with anyone?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's just to see the multi.
How do you do? I always get into these situations where
just go to new direct message.
I did that, and then I clicked on this, and it just creates. It goes to the one when I really want to create a new one. So John Owen or whatever. Yeah.
Where is it? Where'd it go?
I'm sure they'll love my...
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, which I think by itself looks okay. It all looks nice just by itself to me. The thing that I struggle with is when I have 20 messages with all of these different status indicators and a bunch of group messages, which, it gets a little bit noisy, and it is actually kind of overwhelming visually to me as I looked at it. Generally, I like the idea behind it, and I don't have a better solution. So if I were the designer who was asked to do this, I probably would have done something pretty similar. But it's just an interesting change, in my opinion, from
I guess I understand the avatar stuff. The problem I have with this is these avatars are really small, and like at a lot of companies, like your avatars tend to be similar if they do like a photo shoot for everybody. So I'm not entirely opposed to showing the avatar, but I do agree. I think it gets a little
busy.
I agree.
I actually think they're too big because they're larger than the hashtag versions above them. The squares are larger. Like I feel like the squares should have all been the same size, and I think the ones above it are the right size to fit in the list.
And
I think unless it's a visual, they seem bigger to me. Which they probably did so that you could see the picture, but I think they're a little too large to be in a list like that.
Like
22
to 24, maybe. I'm getting some nice screenshots here. Yeah, they're
also the way that they've styled the
channel smaller.
Okay, maybe the way they styled the channel ones make me think maybe you'll be able to like upload your own channel image in the future, which would be interesting.
That could be cool.
Yeah, I love my 70 channels in my work Slack to have
all different
stupid anime pictures and weird Star Wars references that I appreciate, but and then
what's interesting to me is maybe this is just because our IT team hasn't pushed the update or something, but I don't have that on mine.
Oh no, that's why I'm swapping between. So they roll this stuff out, like when they rolled this current lookout, like several of my Slack work groups didn't have this. So only one of the 4 I'm logged into here has it right now. The
so they
enterprise ones tend to be really late unless you're like some sort of early adopter. At least from my experience.
Oh, okay.
John, in Slack, did you refresh it?
Well, I just did the one channel or the one group we have from long ago. Yeah, it's all updated.
Soldier 76.
Yeah, that one.
Oh yeah, that Overwatch. Okay. I'm gonna swap back to the other.
That became an all different types of games channel.
Though. Yeah.
Okay.
It was pretty Fortnite focused for a while there.
So you want to do some Dribbble Roulette?
Oh yes, this is my favorite part of the episode.
I know.
Dun, 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 dun.
See, what we need is we need like a big red button that says like "Dribbble Me" or something.
Oh yeah,
it, like scrolls through a bunch of images.
Okay, well, someone say "Dribbble Me" and I'll click on it.
Hey Tory, dribble me.
Oh.
Man.
Oh, Pencils of Promise.
That's the episode title, by the way. Dribbble Me.
Dribbble Me. I do like that. Adam Ho, Pencils of Promise. Thoughts? My initial thought is I feel like the sideways of is a strange choice because I had a hard time reading it at first.
Yeah.
Just like a gut reaction. Overall, it doesn't look bad.
Yeah, overall it's not bad. I think the kerning is off or something.
I was gonna say I think there's a bit being forced because of the width around these.
There's way too much around that.
Yeah, I would say I would want to find a way to adjust, because I don't know how I would adjust it. I don't like the sideways. I don't like sideways text very often, so
yeah,
I agree with that.
I don't know what so I get the image on the left. It looks like a pencil. I don't know if it also kind of looks like a house. So I don't know if it has something to do with housing or something. I'm not sure what the O in Promise.
Yeah, I don't either.
Means like.
I don't know what that means.
Maybe if we knew what Pencils of Promise was, we would understand more.
If it is just supposed to be a pencil on the left, I would have suggested maybe do at least the little detail showing where you've sharpened the pencil, maybe.
Right.
Yeah, like just a little bit of detail in the mark.
Just slightly.
That's what makes me think it's maybe like a house too. I don't know.
Could be.
Let's look up Pencils of Promise and see if it's
of Promise.
Here's a question. should we email or message these people that we?
That's far too extroverted for me.
It also makes me
I'll
nervous
do it.
because we're not always like, if like we say critical things, so it makes me nervous. Like they're gonna,
I don't think we're saying mean things.
We're not being mean. No, we're just giving them.
It's called
any designer should be able to take some feedback. Yeah,
I know. I'm just saying, like the fact we're doing it in a more public forum is what worries me.
Well,
I mean, totally maybe random. We'll get some backlash, but what publicity is bad publicity?
Exactly.
I mean, I'm telling you.
Overall, it's well done. There's things I probably would have done a little differently. I just don't know what the O stands for, and if that's a house or if it is just a pencil.
Yeah.
So I found Pencils of Promise, and it looks like they went with a different logo, but it still has the sideways F, and I can't figure out from the website immediately what it does.
So the other reason why I don't like the sideways of is because of the sideways IO or OI then as well, because that O that's underlined in the promise also feels like a sideways thing, but it's not. So that kind of bothers me a little. Okay, I'll go to the next one.
It looks like it has to do with like equal access to quality education. So maybe it's a pencil in a school building. I don't know.
Oh, that could
maybe
be
it's just a pencil.
Actually, and I like the type chosen. Actually, I think it looks kind of cool.
Yeah.
So actually, I like this one a lot better than what is on their current website. You should look at Pencils of Promise.
Yeah, I just did that too. I agree. I like.
It's just a sideways triangle that makes like that plus the text make it look like a pencil.
Okay.
But it doesn't look
Adam Ho, I'm sorry they didn't pick this icon that you posted, because
Adam's is much better than this one.
A big less than sign. That's
that's
it.
Or I hope we didn't do this one too, though, because then we're gonna get
that's
like I'm sure that
if it's a client,
you know how clients are. They pick the worst one always.
They always do.
So you can't show it. Okay. Anyway,
that's why if anyone's listening, that's a designer. Always limit.
Oh, somebody's supposed to say "Dribbble Me." Sorry.
Oh, Dribbble Me, Tory.
Me.
Oh. I'm trying to evoke like old NBA Street sounds. You know, remember NBA Street?
He's on fire.
Game breaker.
What is that first word? Super interessante. Oh, maybe that's a different.
I think
language.
Super interesting. Yeah, super interessante.
Oh, that sounded very authentic.
Remember, these are random picks.
Yeah, this is cool.
I love isometric 3D, so to me this is super cool because there's something about isometric that always just feels really cool to me, because it's like it's not just your everyday standard perspective.
And it's hard to do especially the shoe.
There's a lot of
more
so
organic
much detail.
type shapes. It's hard, yeah.
Well, what's funny is that the shoe is actually like the perspective looks really nice. But the one nitpicky thing I have as far as this goes is that the perspective of the computer looks kind of off, which, I mean, I've done the same thing, so it's not easy to do to make this perspective look right. But the shoe's perspective looks fantastic for the most part. But the laptop, it's not bad. It just like if I had to pick one thing to be critical of,
but the laptop is I think the problem here is maybe the shoe feels a little bit more standard perspective, and the laptop feels orthographic, at least to me.
Yeah, I could. That's what I was kind of thinking too.
So maybe it's.
But it's still a cool
I don't know
idea.
how I can't do this at all, so I can't comment.
It'll take me It'll take me a while. I could do the computer fairly easily, but the shoe would take me a while.
Yeah.
Typography wise, I'd have to see it in its context. It feels a little tight and small to be able to actually read that stuff. But the style is kind of cool.
I think it depends on how it's being used. Yeah. If it's actually for print, it might be okay.
It might be
but
fine.
If it's for digital, it might,
I guess print
Apple,
can be
Dell.
really small. I just don't do print very often, so sometimes I get skewed because we have to make everything huge on the web.
Yeah.
I'm It was an I think it was an interesting decision to make the 39% so large because it actually feels to me it feels like it's a little bit too close to the sneaker, and every other number is significantly smaller. It was probably made to be large because that is the larger number and the larger bar, but maybe there could have been a different way or a better way to draw attention to it as the highest number. I feel like there's a decent, like, the spacing in general here is really pretty good. But in this case, it feels like it's a little too close to that sneaker. And it just makes me a little claustrophobic.
Yeah.
Also, the percent has a circle-y thing behind it, which is
different. That's different too. It's interesting.
I wonder the reasoning for doing the shoe, since it's all about the laptop.
I have no context to what this is actually a diagram about.
Yeah, I thought this was all about the shoe. That is interesting.
I did too until I started looking at the Dell and Apple, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting.
It's a graph about who buys shoes on what type of laptop with their credit card.
Because really, what they could have done is done a similar thing as the shoe floating, but being the laptop. Having like the things coming into the laptop instead. I don't know. I don't know how you do it. It's still well done.
It's still nice.
This is super critical of something we have no idea what it's.
I don't feel like it, like once you get into this kind of illustration, I feel like there is a lot of just kind of subjective comments because I think it's objectively a pretty decent, pretty good illustration.
It is. I like it.
Yeah.
I think the illustration, but I'll have to like pile on John's comment. Like I read all of those bars. Like I knew they were computer company.
And then
my brain still like was telling me, oh, this is about the shoe. And again, maybe it is something about like, this is what computers people are shopping for sneakers on. Like, I don't know. But now I'm wondering, like, is it really just like saying like, oh, I'm looking at a product page, like on an e-commerce website on this specific computer? And that like, that's kind of problematic to me if it is about the computer solely. But I don't know. The illustration is good in and of itself.
Yeah, it takes the main focus of the whole piece. So that's what draws your attention.
Yes.
Because it is different.
Right.
A shoe floating.
And it's cool.
You know, it is cool. Yeah.
Okay.
Dribble us.
Dribble me, Tory. Mile High Fungi.
I like the name.
I do too.
It's cool.
Nice rhyming name. So this makes this like my first thought. I guess this is like a jar label or something. That's my first thought was like a wine bottle, but then I read it. So it's probably some sort of like jar with mushrooms in it. I'm not a fan of mushrooms, but
yeah, I think it is well done. I would say the fungi typeface really fits in with the overall style of it. And the Mile High does too, but I think maybe that's the only part that doesn't fit perfectly, if that makes sense. But I still think it looks good.
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what typeface I would have chosen differently, but
I completely agree. And I'm not sure if it's the color just that's making me think that, or if it's the typeface or what, but I'd have to see it in that brown color just to like take the color out of the equation and see what I thought. But yeah, overall, I like it. I agree that the fungi typeface fits really well. And like everything looks really nice. And the only thing that there's a question mark for me is the Mile High as well.
I guess I would like to note is no, it is the same. Never mind. I couldn't tell at first if the little type, like established 2014, was the same typeface as the bottom small type, but it is.
I think it's different than fungi though. The serifs look thicker, which is good because of how small it is.
So I'm sure that this is actually like technically centered, but does the Mile High look slightly off centered to you because of like some of the?
It looks a little to the left, maybe a couple pixels.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I think it's that little bit hanging off the
flourish over there.
The flourish. I couldn't think of the word.
Yeah,
hanging off
maybe.
the M, and I think
It doesn't
I don't
bother
know
me.
if it's the right thing to do would have been to like center it and then bump it over a little by the eye, or if that would not be the right thing to do. But yeah, it's not bad enough that I would like say it's wrong. That was something that I wondered.
To be super picky, I think I would have tied the H into the G or something.
Yeah.
It's just
It would
so
have felt
close.
a little bit more custom. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I would want to, not that I don't like this, because I think it looks cool, and I think a client would probably really like the feel of this, you know, if that's the feel they're going for. But I might want to play with some like maybe slightly higher weight on the Mile High, because to me that's my biggest issue. Like it's cool to have like a little bit of a scripty for this kind of thing, for like an indie brand, you know, just a little bit more fun. But like maybe if it had a little more weight to match the fungi, it would help a little. Because it's almost like on a usability, if this were on a computer screen, like if I were treating it as a usability problem, Mile High is almost, even though it's red, I almost kind of skip over it visually, just because the weight is so much less. The weight kind of feels like the outer border a little bit. So I don't know. I might try a couple versions that had slightly heavier weight on that. I don't know if that would work, but I would
agree with that. I think it would fit in better with the fungi typeface, only because it's already different. They already look different visually. So if you just bump it up maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
I was also comparing it to the stroke that surrounds the entire shape, which is close, and it's the closest as far as like weight to the Mile High typeface, but the stroke is thicker. So like if the Mile High was at least matching the width of that stroke, I think maybe that would have helped a little bit too. It doesn't feel like too thin to me. Like it feels okay. I think part of what helps balance it out is the illustration above it, which is not using like thick lines. I think if the illustration were using more like simple thick lines, then the Mile High would feel more thin than it does to me. But because the illustration is like thin pencil lines style, I think that actually balances, because you're sort of walking from very thin, medium thin to like thick with the fungi typeface. So it kind of builds a nice structure. Go ahead.
That's true.
I found something that is a mistake, and sorry, Andrew, if you didn't notice this before. Okay, look at the top right where there's a little cutout. The stroke on that side doesn't follow the curve the same as the one on the other side. Because I was going to say, like, if maybe he was going for something where it's not exactly the same amount of space all the way around, but
are you sure? Wow.
Yes, I'm sure.
Oh man, that's
because it's definitely tighter. Unless it's just the screen here that you're sharing your computer screen.
Let's say it's my screen. I do not. Man, if it is, it's
like
within a couple pixels.
I mean, it's hard for me to tell, but I thought you were going to comment on just how the stroke doesn't follow the edge well. Maybe you're right that was like a decision that was made on purpose.
What it looks like is it was the outer one was made, and then a border wanted to happen, so it was just scaled,
like shrunk. Exactly. Yeah.
Rather looks like it was shrunk, adjusted to fit. Yeah. So maybe just a little tweak there. Okay, I need someone to say bonus round.
Bonus round.
Yeah, there we go.
This fit on my screen.
This is another random one I found. I found
who's this guy, John Eckert?
Yeah, this was another one of my random ones that showed up. So, final bonus round. I will say this is a good improvement over the previous. I have cheated because I had already talked with John about this a little bit, but we don't have to talk about this too long, but I thought it was fun.
Yeah, no, this is just for some context. We just finished a major redesign of all of our record detail views, of which there is this drawer version, which is like a drawer that pops out on the right side, and then there's a full screen version of each record. And I think there are like, I forget if it's like 20 or 30 different types of records within the app that all share this same general structure and pattern. So it was a very long, drawn out process, drawn out just because there was so much to consider. And these are probably the most used parts of the application. So it was a major change from that standpoint because of how we were changing it for users. The biggest change outside of just improved like visual styling is that everything used to live on one screen. So there's a huge amount of information here. It was all very high, like very compact and condensed, and all on one screen. So you just had to scroll to get to things. We got a lot of feedback that it was hard to find things, especially in larger, more filled out records. And it just didn't look great. It was hard to find things. And so the goal here was to intentionally hide information and give you an easy way to get to that information. The other goal was to try and improve performance. So when we had everything loading on one screen, before we could show you anything, we were loading everything, pulling it from the server. So now what we're doing is just loading what you see here, and then loading each tab as you click on them. Actually, it might be like doing it in the background after you've loaded and started using this. But either way, it allows us to significantly improve the speed of loading this. So yeah, lots of changes went through here. It was a major like global redesign of many different types. So and one of it's hard to get a sense for how much changed without seeing the original version, but yeah, it was a fun project.
Yeah, I will say the choice of Bacon Ipsum is probably I would say in my top 3.
Bacon Ipsum is the way to go.
Top 3 for me. Yeah.
What other Ipsums are there other than Lauren?
Batman Ipsum is really good.
I like I need to start using that. I didn't even know about that.
Use that one.
That one's good.
Maybe I did.
I think I probably heard about that one from Pope.
Probably did.
What was the other one I used?
If the audience doesn't know, I'm a very big Batman fan.
There is some Batman stuff behind you.
No.
There is.
The Matt Stevens.
I got these recently.
Oh,
very cool.
Funko
art
Pop
series.
Still doing.
Are you gonna
Funko
keep them
Pop.
in the package and not open them?
I might.
Dude,
that's the way.
Millions.
That is the way.
Just
to
like
make
Beanie
them worth
Babies.
money. Yeah.
Remember Beanie Babies?
Beanie Babies. I think this begins our slow fade. I think this is the slow fade of the end of the episode.
Instead of having an ending, just like
no, I think we just keep talking.
Slowly fade.
Yeah, and they think, wow, these guys just talk so much.
Well, what if like should the fade be like how slow? Like should it be 2 minutes long?
It's already started. It started about 10 minutes ago.
What if it started from the beginning of the episode and slowly faded the entire episode?
Oh,
talking to their mics. They need to like
artists. It just gets quieter. Man. You gotta listen. Yeah.
Just to see like at what point in the episode, like at what part of what time people start to notice that something's happening. Because for a while, you're just going to look at it and your eyes will adjust, so you're not going to realize what's going on.
Yeah, you
or
won't
your
even
ears
know.
will adjust. But at some point, you're going to say, "What's happening? Like something is wrong here."
Oh, well, and what'll happen is the theme song will slowly fade in the background.
The entire show.
Yeah. So by the end, you've got full on repeating.
Wait, do we have a theme song?
You haven't done
Are we going to use it?
John?
Tori was working on one.
Oh, you have one
Are we
too,
going to
Pope?
Me?
Oh, John. No, I made one, so we'll see if we actually like it and
Are we
put
going
it
to
on
use
the
it?
episode.
All right.
I made some
do it.
tweaks based on
Did you?
feedback, as any designer should.
So is it going to be an ending theme? This is how prepared we are. We don't even know that we have a theme song.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, it may be at the beginning.
We're
It may
great
be at the
designers.
end. The people listening to this episode will actually know earlier than we do, because
That's true.
You
We
know,
don't
we could
know.
have like a post ending theme segment, which could be all of this junk we're talking about right now.
yeah, I think you cut and then you go to this, and if people really, really want to listen, they get all these fun tidbits at the
Post-junk.
end, where now we're talking to our real listeners. This is for those people who are just, they're so
True
devoted.
fan.
They listen past the end song. And I do that on a couple podcasts. It's a thing. It's
I do
the
it if I'm
after
driving.
especially
show.
if
Just wait till it ends.
especially if they have they chapter their show,
Oh yeah.
and I can skip the ending song and get to the post show. That's even better, because then it's not even a post show. It's
Was
just
there anything
the rest
else
of the show.
fun? I feel like there was something else that I wanted to bring up, and I couldn't remember when we were putting together the show notes. What was it about? Shoot.
We have a website now.
Oh.
I guess we could talk about that.
Do we
stuff.
have the URL up?
The URL, it's on the screen right now.
Dribbble.com. Aha. Is there a URL yet, or
What?
is it just the?
Yeah, it's uxfilesshow.com. Pretty simple.
I still have to get you my
Sweet.
info.
Look at that.
I took the
Oh
I
yeah.
took the about page.
You better.
What happens if you go to /about? They might still be live.
It's gonna be good.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all like fake text and
Twitter,
no images.
Tory
but-
Martin. Let's see if somebody's there.
Yeah, you don't have a Twitter.
I do. Tory Martin 88.
Oh, really?
I do.
Oh,
I don't.
could not find
I
you.
do not use it, but
you should.
I know. Twitter is a never-ending hole, and
So yeah,
I avoid those.
uxfilesshow.com. We'll be posting show notes here, links to the things we talk about, images or videos if we feel like that's necessary. If you click on the first episode, which is our only episode so far, you can see that there's an audio version and a video. The video version are all right there. So, listen however you like.
This is good stuff. Thanks to John.
We
for
should
putting
actually.
together.
This is just something I threw together, so we should talk about.
the
We
design.
could review
here.
the design of the site here.
Yeah, well, it's a Squarespace template. So
It is a
they had
Squarespace.
Squarespace.
Well, I changed
brought
it.
to you by Squarespace
I tweaked the template
with
but yeah,
simple templates, with no updating, no
The
coding.
designers
Ever.
actually.
It was
We didn't
really
actually-
easy.
Go to squarespace.com/uxfilesshow for 10% off to your next website domain.
They're gonna do that, and then they're gonna realize it's not
Launch
real.
your passion project with Squarespace.
Like UX Files podcast.
It's a real thing. It's gonna blow up people.
Yeah,
We know
I
it's-
think this is fine. I like it. I want the logo to change to a cool color, the green and stuff color gradient when you hover it though. Like,
Well, I think we should also. What do you think we should have a horizontal version of it? Because it feels a little small up there. Maybe not.
we
All right, we
could
can do that.
whip
It
that
doesn't
up.
matter.
Some of the logo is just like
Oh yeah, we should do a review of the logo sometime.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah,
do
the
you
site looks
think
pretty
of
weird
this
right
that
now.
looks like
it was just
this?
supposed to be a typeface or a type. I guess it is a logo.
I like it.
I mean,
I mean,
It
I'm
works.
not all that picky about logos for some reason. Oh, I had to design a logo this week. So
let's see it.
A guy. Oh, let's see if I can find it.
Is this still part of the podcast?
Well, we'll see.
The after show.
This is the after show where we talk about random stuff for hours. Okay, let me. I know it's here somewhere. I'll find it. So a guy at work is working on a pretty big open source project, and he's doing like a big presentation. And he wanted me to mess with their like just tweak their slide deck so it like didn't look like what typical developer slideshows look like. And he was totally upfront about that. And so I was like, oh sure, yeah, that's fun. So oh come on,
ephemeral run.
Yeah, the name of it is ephemeral. And of course, I'm going to have to get the on dark. So I just threw this together relatively, and it's not going to be sized rightly. But anyway, it's
cool.
Basically, it's a way to run nearly a full production dev environment, but just directly from your dev machine. So it spins up basically your full dev environment, but that mirrors production. But anyway, really simple.
It's cool.
Nice.
And it has like I was kind of happy that it like ended up with a little bit of an E, but also kind of like has the play icon in there. I don't love everything about that. I think some of this, maybe the spacing should be tightened up a little. I may end up playing with it some more, but
I think the first thought I had was because I saw the .ru. It looked like a Russian.
Oh, huh.
Yeah,
that's just what they called it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not the
that
design.
Makes sense.
It's the name. Yeah.
You see the N though, right?
Yeah, I see the N. I'm just saying when I first looked at it.
Yeah. No. I just wasn't sure if it was cut off for you.
Anyways, and so when I just at first glance, I was like,
yeah, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, it wasn't a big thing.
It's huge.
I mean, it could be Russian. Why not?
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm not really a logo designer, but if somebody is in dire need, I do that, I guess. Okay.
Pretty good.
Well, I think I need to sign off.
Check out the website. Go there every
UXFilesShow.com. Show notes.
We have links to Twitter and Instagram and other socials there as well. Prizes. Yeah.
Anyway,
so it was random. Did you just say random words?
Yeah.
Chicken.
Tacos.
Elephant shoes.
Okay, this is the fade out.
Riviera.
The fade out should be very low by now, so nobody's
Mount St. Helens.
Also, I have to say, back to Dribbble Roulette, I just the Andrew guy's Andrew Hoffman's logo that we looked at. I just did the flip. I saved the image and I flipped it around and then in Photoshop, just to compare the two sides, and they are the same. I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
They're the same.
Nice real-time feed follow-up there.
I just had to know.
Yeah, that's good. Way to go. Way to admit
the screen share. We'll blame it on that.
Yeah, way to be able to admit when you're wrong. It's so rare.
Well,
right?
See you guys.
All right, see you guys.
Thanks for listening. If you made it this far. If you did, good on you. If this even makes it in the show. Yeah, I know. It may be cut like 20 minutes before.